What's up, guys? Welcome back to another deck profile video. This time we're doing some One Piece on the channel. Took a small break from the Dragon Ball games while I wait for Fusion World Set 4 to come out. We'll have those deck profiles in just a moment, but wanted to show off a recent deck that I got a local win with, 4-0 with green-yellow Yamato. This leader has double attack, so they take 2 damage when an attack goes through. They have an activate main once per turn. If your opponent has 3 or less life cards, you can give up to 2 Rested Dawn to one of your characters. That ability comes in very handy, making for a very aggressive deck that can definitely do well in the current 8.5 meta. We've had the recent starter decks come out that gave boost to a lot of different colors. But Yamato kind of just goes against the grain with all that, and we'll just get right into the deck profile. So that's the leader. Got the nice alt art, and even have the regular art just in case anyone wants to buy the alt art. I don't mind selling it. I don't really hold on to cards in one piece like that. I try to keep as low rarity as possible. So we're going to start off with 4 copies of Onami. Onami says on play, you give up to one of your leaders or character cards banish. So of course you can give your leader banish, which means the cards that you hit in life don't go to your opponent's hand. So that comes in very handy. You can make your leader double attack banish. There's other cards that help boost it up to make the attack value even higher. One of the main perks of this card is there's a lot of really good Sky Island tech. So we play 4 copies of Shura. This is an on play. Look for the top 5 for a Sky Island card except Shura itself and add it to your hand. And one of those Sky Island cards that you are looking for is the 4 copies of Ohm. Ohm himself is a Sky Island with 5k attack, but if you have 2 or less life cards, he gets plus 1k attack permanently. So he's a 6k if you're at 2 or less life, which is really strong. And then his on-play ability is another searcher where you are looking for the top 5 to find Holly. And then when you find that Holly, you can then summon a Holly, and you get basically a 3 mana 5k attacker. A Holly is a vanilla, so you know, for 4 energy you're able to get 2 attackers, and that's pretty good stuff. We got a little bit of a tech option here. 4 copies of Izo. Izo is an on play. You rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. So it's a good way to stifle potential attackers that you want to attack into. Sticking with the curve, but not necessarily what we're playing from hand, we have 4 copies of Frankie. Frankie's a 4 mana 5k, 2k counter, so that does come up. It also has a really good trigger ability. On trigger, you can draw a card, and then if you're at 1 or less life card, you can play Frankie. So it's a good way to recoup cards in hand, which this deck does tend to struggle with sometimes. Like most of the time, you're top decking, so it does help out. You're playing 2 copies of Kikunoju. When Kikunoju is KO'd, if your opponent has 3 or less life cards, you can add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life. So it's a way to heal, but the trigger is what we really like to do, is because if your opponent has 3 or less life card, it replays itself, and you get a 4 cost 6k attacker on the board. Because we do try to manage staying at 2 Porcus Ace, 5-drop Ace from the starter deck is really good on play if you have 2 or less life cards. The character gains rush, so you're a 7k rush attack, which is really strong, and probably a staple for any deck that plays any type of yellow engine or yellow itself. And since we're on yellow, one of the best triggers in my opinion is the 5 cost Satori. When it's triggered, you can trash 1 card from your hand and play it. But it's also a 2k counter, and those 2ks do add up, and we like to stay alive and strong. One of our biggest attackers going on with the deck is the Hody Jones. We play 4 copies of Hody Jones. It is just a 7 cost 8k attacker with rush, and then on play you can rest up to a total of 2 of your opponent's characters' Dawn or character cards, and then you add 1 card from the top of your life to your hand, which is really strong. So like a really strong attacker. And then the top end for, I guess, sort of a boss monster type card is the 9 cost secret rare Zoro. When you attack, you can pay an energy and you can set him as active, so he gets to attack again. Then you have an activate main where you pay 2 and you set this card as active. So potentially you can basically swing 3 times with Warren Horizonte, and then if you copy it, if you combine it with this leader's ability, it's an 11k attacker that can swing 3 times, which is really strong. On the defensive side, we do play some event cards. We have 4 copies of Blaze Slice. It is an activate main or a counter. And then one of your leader cards gains plus 1,000 during this turn. And then if your opponent has 2 or less life, you can rest up one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. Has a trigger ability, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. So it's a multi-purpose event card, and something that works in tandem with the leader ability, because you can give the leader +1 as an activate main, so your Yamato is 6,000 attack. If you summon the Onami, that's a 6k double attack banish. And then there's another extra card to boost this up, and that is the Demon Aura 9 Sword Style Asura Demon 9 Flash. Ooh, say that 10 times fast. This extra card is in main, so you pay 2, and up to one of your leader or character cards gains plus 3,000 power during the turn. Then you may rest one of your characters with a cost 3 or more, and if you do, you rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. So you can rest like your Holly, you can rest Easel, or maybe some of the 4 drops that you might not want to attack with. Usually I end up resting the Kikunojo so that they can try to KO her, so I can get the heal and see if they play into that. Doesn't always work out that way, but there's ways to combo out those cards. So you have 7 activate main cards essentially, even though Blaze Slice is also a counter, so you can use this offensively. But for the most part, you're looking to pump your leader up +4, so that's 9k attack on a double attack banish, basically, if you do the Onami combo with that, or just straight up 9k, double attack. More support cards, we use 2 copies of El Thor. This is a counter. Your leader gets 2,000 power during the battle, and then if you have 2 or less life cards, you get an additional 2k power. So this is really good for the late game when your opponent is trying to swing into you really hard. You have a way to boost yourself +4k for just 1 mana. And then we do play 3 copies of the 0-cost event. You're the one who should disappear. Counter, you trash 1 card from your hand, and up to your leader or character gains plus 3,000 power during this battle. It has a trigger that, based on RNG, if it happens, great. If not, it's not the end of the world. It's a 0-cost counter card. But if you have 0 life cards, you may add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards, and then you trash 1 from your hand. So if they hit this off trigger and it's the last card in your trigger, it's a way to survive an additional battle. There's not a lot of trigger manipulation in this deck. We're mostly just trying to beat face and go straight into attackers. There's a lot of different ways that you can build this deck, and if you're trying to figure out like what are other cards that work for this deck, let me show you a couple that you might want to fool around with and try out. There is a case to play some of these cards. You can play the 2-drop Shirahoshi, the 3-drop Jewelry Bonnie from OP08. These cards kind of like, you would have to change the build a lot to get them to work in tandem with one another. And then you would also want to play like maybe 1 or 2 copies of this Navi. Those are cards that can help out with the deck build if you're trying to do some different type of tactics or techniques or whatever. These are cards to consider if you're looking to go that route. There's a lot of builds out there that also just straight up play like sort of a Wano package. And those are good. Like, it just depends on how you want to play the deck. I'm more of a just straight up, like, I just want to basically punch you in the face and get through the game as fast as possible. And this is the very fast deck. If you see the curve and you can defend properly, Yamato is a really good call for the current 8.5 meta. Just stick with it, learn the decks, learn the play lines, and it's a deck that can work really well. So I hope that you're interested. If you're trying to get into One Piece, this is one of the cheapest decks that I picked up. I have One Piece from a while ago. Like I have Doflamingo and whatnot, and I've just been sitting on it for a long time. But I like to try different decks, and this is one of the decks that I kind of like wanted to pick up just because I feel like it was a good call for the meta. And it worked out. Got first place locals 4-0, and I'm gonna keep tweaking it and trying out different stuff and see where it takes me. We got one more deck profile coming up, and that's going to be a little bit of a different style in One Piece for people who may or may not have taken a look at this particular leader. So I'll catch you on that one.